Hey, what's happening, everyone? Pragmatic Addict here. Yes, I am in a hotel room. So here's what happened, right? I got the BEAU is Afraid screener. This thing was an hour and a half drive away, my dudes. This was in an IMAX theater. This was the biggest theater I've ever been in. And I saw this movie on the biggest screen I've ever seen a movie on. Now, this was a special screener, right? Like, I've heard about these screeners where, you know, you go and there's like a few hundred people or some shit. Phones are absolutely prohibited. This was one of those screeners, so I took the drive out here. This is one of my most anticipated films of the year. Ari Aster is one of my, I would say, favorite modern day horror directors. You know, obviously Hereditary and Midsommar. Joaquin Phoenix is also one of my favorite actors. Now, here's the thing, is that BEAU is Afraid, he was saying that this was going to be his most wildest and most different film yet. Now, as far as the genre, a lot of people are twisting this thing around, calling it a black comedy horror film. There are horror elements in it that I cannot spoil whatsoever because they're just both absolutely batshit that you wouldn't believe me. And weirdly enough, those horror elements, if I explained what those were, that would actually spoil kind of the overall, I guess, reward of the movie. So BEAU is Afraid is a very, very dark, morbid, experimental, awkward, cringe comedy drama. And I don't know if I've ever had this feeling or said these words after coming out of a 3-hour movie, but I walked out of this 3-hour film and all I said to myself was, what the fuck was that movie about? So the most bastardized and vague way that I'm going to kind of say this plot of this movie is that Joaquin Phoenix plays an anxiety-ridden and extremely paranoid man named BEAU. And this dude's life is just fucked, man. He lives in the most chaotic, apocalyptic looking city. It's like a fucking purge scene 24 hours every fucking day. Like, to the point where if Ari Aster wrote an apocalyptic city in a very, very extremely dark comedy, that's what you're getting here. BEAU plays, again, this guy who goes to therapy every day. He's on all kinds of different medications. He's got layers and layers of trauma. He's afraid of everything. Basically, what this movie is about is that BEAU is visiting his mother, and while he goes to visit his mother, or even before he goes to visit his mother, absolutely absurd things to levels that you would not imagine that are just, again, just overly comical, batshit crazy, just for the sake of shock value in an Ari Aster film of this guy just trying to get out of his shell and go visit his mom. Now, that is all I'm going to say about the story because, again, yes, this is a 3-hour film and a lot goes on in this film, but I really, one, can't tell you anything else without it being spoilers, and I just flat out can't really tell you anymore because I need to see this film plenty more times to even know what the idea of this film actually is. And again, just really quickly before I do start the review, this is going to be a very different review of mine. Usually when I go see films, I can kind of take notes and everything. This one, it was absolutely prohibited. There was a lot to digest from this movie. I'm still processing, so just whatever I'm feeling at this moment is going to come out. So what I will say is that, yes, this is absolutely Ari Aster's wildest film. I don't know if I'd say it's his most strangest or most different. It is different in the sense of this is not a horror film. Again, this does have horror elements, but this is a very experimental and very morbid and very dark comedy. There's a lot of awkward humor in this throughout the whole 3-hour movie. There's a lot of cringe humor. There's a lot of stuff that this movie is very much on the level of like sex humor. It is a very inappropriate film. A lot more than I was expecting. I mean, obviously I've seen Midsommar. Obviously Ari Aster is not afraid to go and push the limits when it comes to cringe sex humor. But man, does he overdo it in this one. I thought fucking Midsommar was to the limit. No. BEAU is Afraid. It pushes it, man. I would go as far as to say that this film kind of pushes everything that Ari Aster is capable of. In some ways, horror, obviously, his comedy, just in general, a film period. And not only a film as a 3-hour epic film that he is calling like a Jewish version of Lord of the Rings, just about a guy going to see his mom.
It's like a Jewish Lord of the Rings, but he's just going to his mom's house.
Just cinematically as well. Again, I saw this in the biggest theater I've ever been in, with the biggest audience I've ever been a part of, on the biggest screen I have ever seen, and goddamn, if you can experience this film on an IMAX theater, go fucking do it. Again, this feels very strange because I'm like, this is just an A24 film from Ari Aster about a paranoid guy with layers of trauma going to see his mother, and along the way he's just going through an unspeakable, unfathomable fucking journey and turn of events. And what I will say is that for that premise and for this idea and for this kind of film from Ari Aster, not only from what it was, but even from what you may be expecting, just go see this movie on an IMAX theater. Just do that. Even if it's the only time that you're going to see this movie, which I am going to tell you, audiences are going to trash this film. Even upon seeing this film, Ari Aster was saying that this was more inspired by like Charlie Kaufman, who was the director of I'm Thinking of Ending Things and Eternal Sunshine. It even had a lot of layers of inspiration from Apocalypse Now. So this is not only not your typical Ari Aster film. This is just, again, for as weird as the guy has done in Midsommar and Hereditary, this is a real unspeakable roller coaster that is 3 hours long that I will say confidently I have never seen a movie like this. Now, what I will say is that after the first, I don't know, maybe like 20-30 minutes or so, for those first like 30 minutes, I was all in. This was everything that I was kind of expecting. It was wild enough, it was unpredictable, it was out there and just kind of came out with a bang. But after the first 30 minutes, again, this is a 3-hour epic film that he is calling it. After the first 30 minutes, I was like, okay, this is so over the top and so unpredictable and all over the place and batshit that you could literally, like, anything could happen at this point, and anything could happen on screen. Anyone could say anything. Anything goes. My overall take of this film is that the experimentalism, all that stuff, like how over the top and bizarre and wacky and unpredictable and just balls to the wall that this film is, I do think that it is overall to its detriment. I mean, I would say that, you know, yes, this is a film that is just, it's 3 hours of just nonsense. It is wacky, it is genre bending, it is unpredictable, it is everything that Ari Aster, a director like Ari Aster, could throw into a 3-hour weirdest and epic film of his to date. What I will say is that the reward of that is that the comedy is so well written. And, you know, yes, this is a film where there is a lot of, throughout the whole 3-hour film, you're just like, God damn it, what is going to be next? Is this going to happen? I can see it going this route. Everything ends with a punchline, whether it's something that you could have gone the movie without seeing or hearing, whether it's horror or a comedy that you could only see in an Ari Aster film to this level. Whatever you're expecting out of, you know, if you're a fan of Ari Aster, what you've known that he will deliver and what you're expecting out of a film like this to this level of his, chances are you're going to get that from time to time, more than less. To the point where I would say that the comedy, as far as writing in this film, as far as the writing, the comedy here is about on par as his horror. Like, as his horror films, Midsommar and Hereditary, there is horror out of that where I'm like, okay, yeah, Ari Aster has definitely made a name out of himself in this genre. But out of a morbid, very dark, experimental comedy, yeah, the same goes for that. I will say that if you're a fan of, you know, Ari Aster's other work and experimental films and indie films for like A24, and again, directors like Charlie Kaufman, if you are an indie experimental film lover to every sense of the word, you will eat this shit up. It might be your best film of the year. But if you are a fan of A24 horror and you've seen Hereditary and Midsommar, you're expecting this film to deliver upon that, you're going to tear this film to shreds. This will probably be the only time you will ever see it, if you even make it through this runtime. I feel like this doesn't need much clarification. This kind of goes without saying, but yes, this film is also a film that needs to be analyzed. I was watching a featurette with Ari Aster, and he basically said that every detail in this movie has a detail. Like, this is one of those films that after I saw it, and as I was watching it, I was like, okay, yeah. One, if you are one of those people that is going to rewatch this film, buy this film on Blu-ray, and actually digest this film and and all that, I'm just gonna say it, man. You have the patience of a fucking saint. I'm just gonna say it. I have respected a lot of this movie, but I will probably not see it again. And that's just because the absolute absurdity of this film as a 3-hour film that needs to be analyzed, that is just batshit crazy and shock value to the absolute major from Ari Aster. Again, this is his epic film that he is saying, his most epic film, but I don't think it's epic in the sense of like, you are what, because what he says that it's a 3-hour film where you're just watching a loser, right? It's just going to his mom's house. Shit, man, maybe Ari Aster doesn't even know fully what this film is. I mean, he's been working on this film for 10 years, and I gotta say, yeah, it pays off. For a director like Ari Aster, with the work he has done with what people are expecting from him, yeah, he definitely made everything out of this runtime. And he delivered to what, again, fans of Ari Aster are going to be expecting, for what people are going to be like maybe theorizing of what this film is going to give. He's going to deliver on all platforms. But do not use this word loosely. This film is fucking experimental, and in a lot of ways to its detriment. This is going to be a very divided, polarized film that, don't get me wrong, I'm glad I saw it, but... And even as a fan of Ari Aster and as a film that this was one of my most anticipated of the year, again, just to watch this film repeatedly and to get to the point where you actually might know what it is actually saying, yeah, dude, you have the patience of a fucking saint. And overall, guys, yeah, I hate to say it, but I am gonna give BEAU Is Afraid a mixed review. There are things that I respected in this film based off of what I wanted out of it, what I was anticipating, what, you know, even cinematically, and seeing this film in the atmosphere that I did, yeah, I am glad I made that hour-and-a-half drive for this 3 hours batshit cinema piece. But in the same argument, for what this film was, also what I got out of it, I don't know if I'm gonna have the patience, as someone with ADHD, to go and check out this film again. But yes, guys, that is going to do it for my review of BEAU Is Afraid. Don't get me wrong, I'm still saying, even with this mixed review, I'm still saying, look, go see this movie. Give it a chance. If you love cinema, if you love horror, if you love comedy, if you love Ari Aster, if you're expecting him to deliver this on all batshit crazy Ari Aster fronts, go see this film and try and see it in the IMAX theater, because it is a fucking film. But yes, guys, that's going to do it for my review. Tomorrow morning, we are getting the Insidious Chapter 5 trailer, which I will be reacting. It is one of my most anticipated films of this year. The next morning, we have Beavis and Butthead, the first couple episodes releasing of the new season. And later that night, I will be dropping my review of Evil Dead Rise. This might be just my most anticipated week of the entire year. But yes, guys, that's going to do it for my review of BEAU Is Afraid. If you have seen it, let me know what you think in the comments below without spoilers. But yes, guys, definitely check this film out some way or another. Hopefully in the best way that you can. But yes, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.